Welcome back, guys. This 10,000 got me breathing with dragons. I'll crack the egg in your bastard, you bastard. I'm Marilyn Manson, now imagine the magic. Shit, just had to get that off my chest. Fresh off the press, a huge thank you to all the loyal supporters and followers of the HT channel. Reaching the 10k milestone is an incredible achievement, and it only strengthens my resolve and commitment to deliver content and keep the community growing. Next, we have the community poll I conducted concerning the current affairs around the custom firmware preferences for all community members. The results reveal two clear frontrunners in this arena. We have Unleashed and Xtreme. Later in the video, we'll delve deeper into the developments and features that set these two custom firmwares apart from the others. In other news, we see that Linus Tech Tips video has further fueled FC enthusiasm amongst the community, attracting even more attention for the device. For those looking to purchase Flipper Zero, Joom still remains the go-to platform, especially with the recent announcement of adding the United Arab Emirates to their list of supported countries. However, there's still some misconception about the capabilities of the Flipper Zero. For example, Amazon has banned the device, categorizing it as a card skimming device. To clarify, although the Flipper Zero is capable of reading public NFC data from credit cards, its capabilities are quite similar to those of an Android phone using an NFC credit card reader app. For someone attempting to skim credit cards, they would still require the CVV code at the back and relevant address information to successfully complete a transaction, both of which are not capable with the Flipper Zero. In other news, there have been reports of seizures in Brazil and attempts by eBay to ban the Flipper Zero, citing that hacking devices are not allowed on their platform. For me, this is overkill and quite unnecessary because I see other devices are just as capable, or if not more, than the Flipper Zero. For me, its potential reason for these bans may be the immense popularity the device has garnered, which could raise concerns about its potential misuse, which has then put it into the spotlight. That's enough news for now, so let's buckle up, turn off those speakers, and let's go! So now we can begin our deep dive in comparing the two winners of the custom firmware poll, which was Unleashed and Xtreme. These two firmwares have been making strides in the Flipper community, and it's time to put them head to head and find out which one comes out on top. So first we can look at Unleashed Flipper. So if we head over to GitHub and under Dark Flippers repository, we have the Dark Flippers with Unleashed firmware as the main repository. We have at the helm here Xmaster X, the OG himself, followed by newcomer TQ and Amek and S Rich Dan. So two new players to the scene since my last review of this firmware. And if we look at the Unleashed firmware itself, we can see on the right panel here 334 watches. Now we have an impressive fork count and counting of 681 forks from this present repo, which is great because the forks kind of represent what people have taken on board. So we can do a period of 6 months even, and then you can just see how many other people are basing their work line or basing the underlining work of what they're currently doing in their own customized firmwares on the Unleashed Flipper firmware. Also note that these kind of pull and push requests can also be added to the main branch if and when they want to approve those to add further enhancements to the community. It's great to see Uber's got one here. We'll type the OG. Now, if we look at what's going on here and see any changes from when I was last here, so we can see here we have some changes of removal of sub-gigahertz regions, text restriction. It's kind of extended the frequency range. Seen that beforehand. They got support for various rolling code protocols such as FAAC, SLH or SPA. We also have support for various rolling code protocols such as FAAC, SLH, and BFT Mito. And we've also got a key lock secure with seed manual creation on that front. We've also got sub-gigahertz static code, brute force code plugins, and LF RFID fuzzer plugins. Also got some custom community plugin games with additional sub-gigahertz frequency and MyFair classic keys. On the external sub-gigahertz front, we have the CC1101 modules and adding some more customizable flipper name options to that. We also have a customizable flipper keyboard layout for the bad USB with numerous improvements to the sub-gig frequency and functionality. And also we see some enhancements to the infrared with a vast array of community development and other games. So there definitely has been vast improvements since I last installed this last year sometime. And it looks like it keeps growing, which is fantastic for the community front. Also, if you ever want to sponsor and donate if and when you can, here are all the wallet addresses for the various cryptocurrencies that are being accepted. So I do encourage you supporting the developers for their work. Now then, if we head over to the instructions for installing the firmware, we can use various methods to install it. We got a web installer, which can be done as so. You can install it via the mobile iOS app, the Android app. You can install it via the Q Flipper using the TGZ download extension. And that's about it. So we can install it via the web installer, that's fine. So if we head over to Unleashed again and we go into releases, now you can see here there's 127 releases to date, and the last one was 5 days ago. Amazing. Also, new changes are also added under the description of each new update. So we can install that now. So we can go to install via the web updater, and if you see in the URL, it will append the URL after the lab.flipper.net URL, and it should be appended to the latest version, in this case 0.45. So if we hit connect, please note best practice at this point for me would be to refresh the entire Flipper instance, install a factory firmware. So now we've connected to the Flipper, and as you can see at the moment I've kind of just put a fresh install of the factory default firmware. If you don't see this, install the latest version. This is on 81.1 as time of recording. So now you can see this is installed. Now here under choose your firmware, you got an option to choose the release of the custom firmware, which would be this Unleashed version. You got a release candidate, and you got a dev unstable versions. Now these are kind of version releases. So I'll go to the release custom firmware, as that's the base default and the latest one that's available for Unleashed. So we hit install. And now, as you can see, it's just installing the custom firmware. This is a far cry simpler from back in the day when you needed to just install it via the downloadable zip file, then extract that, install that onto the SD card under the update folder, and then update it from the Flipper. So this is much more slick, much more easier to install this way for updates going forward. And you can see here, it unpacks the tar file for you. There's the up.bin. You get a restart on the Flippers updating. And bam, there we have it. Now we're on the Unleashed version 4045. And just a note on the web installer, you can see files here. You can actually explore your SD card from here, which is fantastic. You've also got a command line interface from here, which is pretty cool. You don't have to go into any COM or anything like that, or use something like Putty. You can go straight in from here, which is amazing. And there you have it. There's all the commands available to you. We also got some NFC tool sets to test, which is quite neat. They have paints. I'm not sure what this does here. I'm assuming it's just to draw some crap. Send frame. And once you send frame, it actually appears on your flipper. So if you see here, now it doesn't show it here, but it did. Once I sent frame, it actually showed that on my flipper, which is pretty cool. We have radio tools as well, where you can actually upload your sub-gigahertz or infrared plots. Interesting. That's pretty good. It's really good. I really like this. So, back to the issue at hand. Now that's closed, we can explore what is on Unleashed. So, welcome to Unleashed. You can scan the QR code to explore the Discord server. I suggest you join the community if you are interested in the Dark Flippers community and Unleashed. Next, you can see here, that's the URL for the GitHub repo. And now, animation wise, yes, the middle button is flipping through the animations. There is no custom animations on, oh, maybe there is. Not seen that one. Bearing in mind that might be a new one from Flipper itself. Okay, so animations front, decent. Application front. All right, we got Flappy Bird, Minesweepers, Snake, Solitaire, Tetris, Tic-Tac-Toe, Zombie, and of course you have Doom. How can you not start this up without playing Doom? All right. Not bad, classic. Did want to see what Flappy Bird actually looked like though, interestingly enough. I didn't get far, but yeah. It works, it's the main thing. GPIO, what we got? AVR flasher, we got DAP link. We have the Marauder preloaded, nice. The Alpha. GPS, this sensor, tool, light meter, mouse jacker, sniffer, signal generator, UART terminal, and Wi-Fi scanner. All of obviously work with a ESP32 and above. Now we have main, nothing in there. Media, metronome, Morse code, music player, wave player, normal. Barcode generator, hex viewer, okay, and authenticator. We have folder called need testing, sub gigahertz, proto view. Not seen this. All right, might need additional settings in order to make that work. Got the POXAG pager. Alright, not seen that one. Alright, sub gigahertz brute forcer. Nice. Not bad. Might have to use this in another scenario. Got the sub gigahertz playlist. You can increase that yourself if need be. I have the weather station, of course. Okay. Next, we have tools. We have a camera. API mismatch. This app might not work correctly. Okay. Alright, so it has the camera app, the one I demoed in my previous video. It has the FAP for that already. seen this. We've seen the I button fuzzer, NFC magic. Okay, you could check and write magic tags, RFID fuzzer, and okay, you can specify the protocol as well. Not bad. Seen this done differently. This looks like it's been updated a little slightly. Okay, I think that's that. And the sub gigahertz. Read raw, default skin is fine. Okay, that's good. Extra actions. FXD regulator. Clear T577 password. Okay. We have also read raw data. Not many custom actions. I thought there'd be much more here. Then we have NFC. We have obviously the read. Same features as before. Extra actions. Read a specific card. Classic card. EMV card. NFC data. Okay, that's fine. Infrared, universal remotes, TVs, yeah, projector fan, AC, learn new remote, raw, nice. Have bad USB, can't obviously demo that now. We have clock, that's fine. Settings, Bluetooth settings. Okay, LCD notification, backlight brightness, yeah. Storage, power, desktop, passport, okay. System, okay. Okay, so let's just try the up options. We have obviously lock, we have stealth mode and dummy mode. Lock will give you a lock feature, and then you can just hit the combination they've requested to unlock it, which is fine. Stealth mode, I think that just puts everything on silent. Yeah, it's just a silencer basically. And dummy mode, basically it's just one click to activate some games for dummy mode. Really, it's nothing. All three arrows in the middle activate a game, and then you got the passport. So dummy mode is just very basic. I think that's it as an overview for Unleashed where it is right now. It offers all the additional applications you could want, especially the enhancements on the sub gigahertz front. It does have some limited customization options at the moment, making it suitable choice for users primarily aimed at the pen testing area with moderately enriched experience in terms of aesthetics, animations and games. While it does provide the extra protocols for the sub gigahertz communications, it doesn't compare to the range of protocols that we might see in other custom firmwares. For me, the Unleashed firmware is a great custom firmware for Flipper Zero, and as you can see from the poll, it's the one that everyone is on. It clearly won the poll, there's no question about that. So now then, let's roll back to the original official firmware, and then we can start the whole process again with Xtreme. The Xtreme firmware, as we can see, is spearheaded by Clara Crazy, or Clara K, and she's a German-based developer. If you haven't already, check out the Discord. There's an amazing community unfolding there. And let's see what is new and on offer for Xtreme. So if we go into the repos, and there's 6 available, we have Xtreme flippers. Now then, we can see here, this has 1,900 and counting forks, with a 192 watch list and a 2.1K star list. So if you can see the forks, say for the last 6 months, we can see again, same explanation as before, which other projects are basing their firmware or flavor of Flipper Zero into their own Flipper projects, as it were. Now, here we have a Safe for Workware, Flipper Xtreme, and here's all the other adjacent developers making their own versions based on the work Clara has done here. Now, there seems to be only one pull request for now. It's a project that is continually growing and heavily on updates and improvements. Now we're looking at Xtreme, we can look at the documentation. And a plus here about Xtreme is that it's very well documented and clearly written, which is always a plus when it comes to navigating these repos, because sometimes it's a labyrinth to find out what information you need. So a very hats off to Clara and the team here in terms of their documentation. It's very clear. So we have the intro, and we can see that many hours have been spent perfecting the code even further and getting the most out of the firmware and what's often offer. So the main bullet points here is feature rich, it's stable, and there's customizations, which is all good. Now we have Xtreme settings. We wrote a powerful yet easy to use application specifically for our firmware that gives you easy to access to all the fancy things we implemented. So it looks like they implemented an interface, protocols. Here you can toggle USB and Bluetooth mode for our bad keyboard app, and manage sub-gigahertz settings like custom frequencies and extend options. It was a bit of a gripe last time when I added the extend options myself, because they've added the feature in, so you don't need to add an extra file to your settings because they provided it now, which is great. Now we got the animation and asset packs. Nice, always good to see. So they have a Watchdogs and POI pack, it seems, if you want some custom animations. And bad keyboard. Again, the bad keyboard allows you to toggle between USB and Bluetooth mode for your attack. In Bluetooth mode, it allows you to spoof the name and MAC of a device. Interesting, might have to test that. Got a leveling system from 0 to 30, I would assume. And you unlock some not safe for work animations, it seems. Now here's the list of changes, and there's an important note here, is that this repo is always updated with the official branch and the Unleashed branch more or less at the same time. So it's including the work Unleashed does as well as the official, and on top of their own. So it's maintaining quite a lot of code if you really think about it, because you're maintaining 3 sets depending on what changes are done through each firmware. So hats off, very great, commendable work being done here when it comes to maintaining such a code set like this. So they got Xtreme app, which is quite new, asset packs, some more UI options, bad keyboard app, a battery display type, so assuming you could change it, scrolling view for long file names, not safe for work animations tied to leveling system, folder handling for empty ones. They also got custom sub-gigahertz presets, multiple NFC protocols, multiple sub-gigahertz protocols. The documentation is just on fire right now for me. It's very clear to what's been changed and what's been added and what's been updated and etc. and been fixed and removed. Amazing, whoever's keeping this documentation up to date. Great work. Now we've got the install process. Like I mentioned before, this Chrome installer for the web updater is the best way to do it going forward. You could do it the old-fashioned way, like I mentioned, quite laborious when it comes to unzipping the file, finding it, putting in the SD card, update directory, etc. So I would recommend you doing it through this way. So if we go to the update version and then we go to the Chrome update, you hit connect. Bearing in mind we just installed it and updated to the latest official firmware. Right, now we've connected it up. Again, we're on the latest official firmware, and as you can see here from the URL above, it's taking it from cloud.cynthialabs.net and it'll update it to the latest version of Xtreme firmware, in this case 044 ending 023. Now again, like before, we have the Xtreme update version, we got a release version, which is the current release of the official firmware, and you got a dev unstable version. So in this instance, we're choosing the default option, which should be the Xtreme firmware. We hit install, let that do its thing. Right, now that's done, we can head over to Xtreme. So now we've got welcome to Xtreme, the journey begins now. So now, like I mentioned, the interface has now changed. So the UI has completely had a facelift, and it's not going to be like what we saw in Unleashed or the official version. So if you press the up arrow, you can see here we got a brightness contrast, you got a lefty mode, you got some system setting locks, some graphic setting options, frequency modes. So if we go back here, you got some brightness, and they've also got RGB mod settings and much more. So even just here, they've got almost like an introductory slide of the new features that have been introduced to this firmware, which is amazing for someone who has just possibly installed it and doesn't know what to expect. Now go ahead and explore your new system, Xtreme, make it yours. So we hit OK, and we got Flipper in the water as usual. As you can notice here, we got a battery icon in the top right, and we have the SD icon in the left. If you hit down arrow, huge thanks to the numerous developers, I'm assuming, to see who's on here. Speaking of which, as we saw with Unleashed, if we scroll to the bottom of Clara Crazy's Flipper Xtreme, you can see a huge list of contributors. You can see a huge list of contributors who have put work into the project and graphics and otherwise to the Xtreme flippers. So already from here you can see numerous names. We got the boy talking Sasquatch, you got Uber here, you can see X Master X here, Clara herself. Back to the issue at hand. If we hold down the arrow again, so it looks like there's only one manifest for being called here at the minute, so we see how to change that. We have me sitting at level 1, and it's taken the name. I'll show you why that's happened in a second. So if we hit first on the enter, we can see a quite nice user interface, and it's even got some stock animations for the icons themselves, which is no easy feat. So if we go to apps, normal, we go to games, and we got more games than we have on Unleashed. GPIO, Flasher, Air Mouse, that very similar ones that we saw before. Wi-Fi analyzer, mouse jacker scanner. Go to main, nothing in there. RFID, read, save, extra actions. Indala, the clear, read raw. Okay, very similar again. Infrared, learn new remote, debug. Bearing in mind, you can obviously add more files as and when you need them. We go to ACs. Okay, that's fine. I button, that is barely used. Next we have the sub gigahertz. Go to read. Interesting, the skin is of that of the flipper. I do remember in an older version there was a different skin. I'm not sure if that's deliberate or not. And got read raw, fine. Frequency analyzer, fine. Radio setting. Cool. Then we have NFC, got read, detect, reader, extra, read specific card type. Good. MyFair Classic. Listen NFC V reader. Interesting. Not seen this one. And you can add manually. And there's quite a list of manual additions that you can add. Next we have GPIO, BAD, KB. Then we have Xtreme itself, has its own app, interface, graphics, safe for work pack, not safe for work pack, cycle, meta, text. Okay. And we have fallback, animation is on, we can turn that off, unlock animations on. Okay, then we have main menu, we have a Wii grid, an app list, then we have app, which is currently set to none. You can remove apps, you can add apps to the menu, which is pretty good. Got a lock screen option. Got a status bar option. Can go to retro on the battery icon, we can change that. Got a bar background, can change that as well. Nice. Common, leave that. So if you were left-handed, you could turn that on here. Got dark mode as well if you wanted it like that. And you can sort directories first. And there is this option here as well. So now we have the not safe for work animations occurring, which are essentially pixelated hentai type animations. I was just more curious than anything of what type of unlocks that would achieve. And now I'll set that back. All right, so now we're back to the safe for work animations, as it were. Still trying to find more options aside from the interface ones we've currently seen. So if we dive back into what's gone on here, we can see tons of apps have been added. Let's find these apps. Okay, here we are. So we have the main, we have music. Okay, there are more apps here. Then we have sub-gigahertz apps, Proto View, Spectrum Analyzer, sub-gigahertz brute force. So we saw some of that already. Weather station, we saw some of that. We have some miscellaneous apps, Music People, Ocarina, here. Some tools, the camera. We have a Bluetooth remote. So we have a Bluetooth TikTok remote control. We have a mouse jiggler. We have a keyboard, a media player, maybe a camera of type, a mouse as well, and keynote as well. Pretty good. Nice. We have more tools here. We have IR remote, IR scope. Nice. Password generator, Pico, RFID fuzzer, and USB remote. Alright, so when you click that, that just basically takes you out the Clue Flipper and it gives you some options to either use it as a keyboard or some other USB type device. Next we have Wi-Fi, we have the Marauder DUF 1 and 2, we have the FTTT, nice, and we have a Wi-Fi scanner. So of course there are tons of apps, let's check. We got the file browser, massive compiler redo, about 4K files to speed up things. It is quite quick, I must say. Applications to now use, the new local settings, nice. I did want to see where these animations are that they spoke of, so let's see how they are inserted here. So from the SD card, you create this folder, give it a pack name, some icons, some animations, and you give it an example animations folder with the BM and meta text, and then you have the manifest at the bottom. Have they provided any ones that we can demo? Not that I can see. There's no like demo pack available. Oh, I see. So they're not being provided here. If you join the Discord, I'm sure that someone or there's a channel available with custom animation packs. I think what's most important here is that they've created their own new improved animation and asset system whereby you can cycle through your own animation packs just by adding the folders into a designated dolphin_custom directory in the SD card, which makes it more easier really to flick through all the great animations that you can make. That's the animation front. We have the safe for work dummy mode. Well, we've kind of seen what not safe and safe for work looks like now. They have the mood system, so if we just find what that is, of course they got the mood is happy at the minute. They don't have the name changer. I want to know where the name changer app is, because Sasquatch had an app that could actually change the name. As you can see here, it's taken the name because we got Penne still here. It's taken the name, but where is the app that changes the name? I think we had it under tools. It was called like, just called name changer. I think he had it as. Yeah, for some reason I can't find the name changer. It must be here somewhere because it's kind of taken the name, as you can see here, from my previous modification of it, but I'm not sure where that's happening within the code set. Anyway, that was Xtreme Flippers. Now for me, Xtreme Flipper was a firmware that is feature rich, stable and highly customizable firmware that aims to provide regular updates based on community feedback. And as we saw, it features the Xtreme settings app, we got the animation asset packs, bad keyboard, and we have an enhanced leveling system. Some of the more notable changes included the new battery display type, the scrolling view for long names, and fixes to various issues that were so long I couldn't even name them all. The firmware has also removed broken apps and unused code that's very, very clean, and it's just tidied the whole thing up. Conclusion. That was the result of the poll comparing Flipper Zero's custom firmware batches for Unleashed firmware and Xtreme firmware. As we saw, both were powerful custom firmware options for the Flipper Zero, providing enhancements and features that surpass the standard firmware. We saw that Unleashed Firmware offered some additional applications but had limited customization options, making it more suitable for users who just want a enhanced and enriched experience. While it does provide the extra protocols and sub-gigahertz communication, it doesn't compare to the range of protocols that we kind of saw with Xtreme. On that note, Xtreme, on the other hand, boasts extensive customization options for the user interface front, animations, and asset packs. This allowed me and other users the ability to create personalized experience tailored for their preferences. Xtreme, as we saw, has a non-safe for work option, which kind of unleashed in this front, to play on words, a slew of pixelated hentai anime, which is not for my taste, but it might be for others. For me, the animations are just convenient in the way they've been managed here, and it eliminates the need for manually editing code or the manifest files, which is a big plus because that could just be a huge headache, as I've witnessed before. What I also saw in the documentation for Xtreme was the introduction of the API routes for local settings, which are available. Now, this could provide developers with additional resources in creating custom applications and integrating with the firmware. I'm yet to see this being applied, but I'll keep an eye on it in the Discord. So in summation, Xtreme Flipper offers a technically advanced, customizable and feature-rich experience compared to Unleash. Its extensive customization options, improved stability and unique features such as customizable asset packs, bad KB with USB and in Bluetooth mode, extended leveling systems and additional protocols for the sub-gigahertz and IR front. However, if you prefer a more straightforward experience with some additional functionality and don't require the extra customizations or advanced features, Unleashed may be a suitable choice. The decision ultimately depends on your specific requirements and your technical preference and knowledge. That was the Ace. Stay safe in the cyberspace and peace out.